Okay, welcome to Chapter 7, Lesson 2, Congruency. Write congruence, see statements for congruent figures. We do have one definition for this, or one vocab word for this lesson, corresponding parts, which is, whoops, wrong thing moved. There we go. Parts of congruent figures that match or correspond. Okay, you can always pause it for the definition to write down there and then continue as needed. We're going to move on to our key concept for this lesson. Key concept is corresponding parts of congruent figures. Okay, let's take a look at the words. If two figures are congruent, their corresponding sides are congruent, and their corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, we have our model, which we're going to do some writing on. I'm going to pop up the page a little bit here. Oops. Okay. First of all, you need to write. We are going to prove triangle A, B, C is congruent. It's a little squiggly line with an equal sign underneath it to triangle D, E, F. Oops, this board is off whack again. Okay, so we have up there corresponding sides are congruent. So let's take a look at our sides. First of all, on our triangle ABC, we're going to look at our short side AB. We'll put one line there, and our corresponding side on the other triangle DEF would be DE. So those get one little hash mark. That means those two are congruent. Now we're going to look at side BC. This time we're going to put 2. Can't put 1 because that would mean it would be equal to AB, which it is not. Okay, so we have side CB or BC. It is congruent to what over on this triangle, it is EF. So let's get 2 hash marks right there. And then we go to our diagonal AC. We have 3 hash marks. That means our diagonal on DF is also going to get 3 hash marks. And that way when you're looking at something, at a problem, if you see the hash marks are the same amount of hash marks, that means those sides are congruent. Okay, now with our angles, let's look at angle A. Angle A is just going to get a little loop. And angle D is our congruent side, so that's going to get one little loop in there. Okay, if we look, angle B is a right angle, so that will just get a square this time. Angle E is a right angle, that will get a square. As these are with C and F, which these are congruent, so they're going to get 2 hashtags, or 2 little half moons, which means they are congruent. Again, can't put 1 down, because otherwise you're saying angle C and angle A are congruent, which they are not. Okay, now down to our symbols. First we have our triangle symbol that we did that they're showing congruent. As we've proven this, it'd be that mark right there. Now, congruent angles. What we would do is angle A is congruent to angle B. There we go. Angle B is congruent to angle E. And angle C is congruent to angle F. Now on our sides, we're going to do our sides. First we're going to go side AB, and our little line segment there is congruent to DE. Now we're going to go our side BC is congruent to side EF. And our last one, our AC, our diagonal, is congruent to DF. And there you have the key concept for this lesson, showing how you can mark congruent angles and congruent sides. Okay, let's take a look at some examples. Write congruent statements comparing the corresponding parts in the congruent triangles shown. Okay, so once again, look, just from our key concept, the way we can write how things are congruent, we either can do it by the sides or by the angles. So let's start with our angles. We'll look at triangle GHI at top first. Let's look at G. G's got the one little angle, so we got angle G is congruent to angle, what's over here, and JKL. J's got the one little, so that means that must be congruent to G. That's congruent. Now we have angle I. It's got two little half moons. Look at this triangle, two half moons is angle L. Angle L is congruent with angle I. So that must mean angle H is congruent to angle K. Now let's write our statements for our sides. Okay, let's take a look at our GH. Side GH has 1. So we have side GH is congruent to, over here, JK has 1 marking, so those sides are congruent. Our next one, GI is congruent with JL. And our last one, HI is congruent with LK. And there you go. There's our statements comparing the corresponding parts for our triangles. Once again, any questions, please write them down, or go back and review the video if any questions on congruent angles or sides. Okay, our next example, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ. Write congruent statements comparing the corresponding parts, then determine which transformations map triangle ABC onto XYZ. Okay, first let's take a look at our angles. Okay, let's take a look at angle A first. What would be congruent with angle A over here? Looks like angle X. Angle X looks like that's going to be congruent. Now let's take a look at angle B. We'll make 2 little marks there, because they are different angles. Angle Y would be our congruent angle on that one. And angle Z gets 3 little hash marks there. And Z gets 3 as well. Yeah, 3. That determines our angles. Now let's look at our sides. Our sides, let's look at AB. That side is going to be similar with XY. Then we have our BC, which we'll take with 2 tally marks. Is going to be similar with YZ. This leaves our AC, 1, 2, 3. Go with XZ, 1, 2, 3. And there we go. That's our congruent statements. Now we have to determine the translation. Let's take a look at the translation. So what would we do first to get triangle ABC to look like XYZ? Well, first of all, let's see what we can do here. We are going to clone it first. Maybe. I don't know if it wants a clone in or not. There's our clone. There's our clone. Now let's try to let's flip it over the y-axis. So we're gonna flip it left to right to get our mirror image. That's not flipping, that's upside down. Try it again. It's not seem to be working with me today. There we go. Now we flipped it. So now we flipped it over here. There's our reflection. Now, as you see, now we just have to, what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to slide it down. 1, 2, 4. Let's go down 4 spots, and voila. So the transformation we had to do to go from ABC to XYZ was a reflection, then a translation of down 4. So again, any questions on that, please write them down or review the video, and we will go over them in class. Okay, and on to our last example. Miley is using a brace to support a tabletop. In the figure, triangle BCE is equal to, but it is congruent, so we have to put the little squiggly line in there, to DFG. If measurement of CEB is 50 degrees, what is the measurement of FGD? Okay, angle CEB. Okay, you might want to ask where the 50 degree is going to go. If you look at the middle letter, that always tells you what where the angle is. So CEB is, we're looking at this angle right here, CEB. So this is going to be 50 degrees right in there. Now they are asking for angle FGD. Once again, we're looking at the G is the vertice of the angle. So FGD. Okay, looking at that angle right there. Okay, once again, they told us that these triangles are congruent, which means the angles and the sides are the same. So if angle E is 50 degrees, angle FGD must be 50 degrees. Pretty good. Okay, once again, any questions concerning this, please write them down or review the videotape and bring them into class. This concludes lesson 2.